do you know how much work they'd have to do to find all of the hornets' nests? Yeah, they only found one. I know. Just wait until I discover how many more than one there are. Oh! Hello, and welcome to Office Hours, a live component of the facility where good old Professor Kyle opens up his blast doors and allows you, professors and the public, to ask any old question here on the podcast live. I'll try to be the most interesting and entertaining off the top of my head as I possibly can. At the very top of the show, of course, we're going to be taking your comments, questions, super chats, all that stuff, but we will also be going through 5 different topics today, as we're wont to do, things that are sciencey, in the news, interesting, entertaining, yada, yada, yada. If you want to join the facility, if you want to continue this conversation after this podcast, you can go to patreon.com/Kyle Hill and join the Discord, get behind the scenes stuff, see episodes early, and that's why you see my security team in the chat. That's a facility professor right there, making sure y'all don't get crazy. No all caps, no spamming, no all that stuff. Because I know if I turned slow mode off, it would just be, hey, Kyle, love hairs, show the... All right? So today, we'll be going through a number of topics. Of course, we'll be going through the murder hornet news, which some people in the comments say, hey, Kyle, you're a dum-dum. Murder hornets literally don't exist. Well, it's just the name in the media. I know that... Come on now. Going through the murder hornets. Also be going through the passing of a tremendous man in the field of science and science communication. And I'll be showing you some footage that you probably didn't know existed of me when I was but a young boy. We'll be also talking about diabolical ironclad beetles. How that immense carapacial strength may influence engineering designs going forward. We'll be taking one of your comments from the latest episode of the facility, which is all about game theory, and we'll be talking about finding water on the moon. But before that, as I said, we already got people hashtag simping for science, and you know I love that. We have Dolphin Supreme, longtime facility member, who says, I can't... Will give skill. What are you trying to do to me? Just simping for science in between my computer science classes. Congrats on your award, by the way. Yeah, I mean, thank you. If you weren't aware, over the weekend, your boy here did win Science Influencer of the Year. Very humbled. And it will continue on my 5-year mission to boldly go where no hair has gone before. Boise Freerunner with the 5 says, if you could have dinner with 4 people in the world, alive or dead, no language barriers, who would be at your table and why? Let's pause the super chats. We got to get into our first topic. This is just the intro. 4 people to have dinner with. That's hard. Like, how far apart are we? And where are we eating? And what are we eating? But I know the spirit of your question. I don't know. I think a Sam Harris might be nice at the table, although he's pretty soft-spoken. Actually, you know, we're gonna talk about one of the people I'd like to have at my dinner table in just a moment. Mr. Diglett with the 20 says, sorry about the moon question the other day. It's okay. If I don't understand something, I'm gonna say that I don't understand it. I'm gonna tell you, because that's knowing what you don't know is an essential part of science. But what I do know is that we found the first murder hornet invader nest. Invader zzz. Oh, jeez. This be a murder hornet. Of course, what people, one person was saying in the chat, Kyle, you stupid man. Murder hornets don't exist. Well, yes, I know. It's not the real name, but these are giant Asian hornets. They exist, and they're here in the United States. In the United States, they would be considered an invasive species, but a little bit of background, of course. This is not to scale. Thank science. This is not to scale, but they are indeed giant. They can be about the size, they could fit in your palm like this, like a little under maybe 2 inches long, about 2 inches long, or 5 centimeters long, for the rest of the world who understands measurements. And they are oppressively aggressive. These murder hornets, they have 6mm long stingers, and getting stung by one of these feels like ramming a hot poker into the bottom of your heel. And they can also, and I did not know this, they can also spit venom into your eyes. Now, the murder part of Murder Hornet is a bit misleading, and it is clickbaity, and it's not my fault. It's clickbaity because murder hornets, while they do cause a number of human fatalities every year, it's not very many. Even one death is a lot, of course, but it's like 60 a year, if that. There are dogs are orders of magnitude more deadly than the murder hornet, and we don't call them, murder flukes. Although I might. Anyway, so they're not really dangerous to people. Why they're so murdery and why they're so potentially dangerous is the honeybee population in the United States, which we rely upon, and they are also a transported species. They're not native to North America. But why North America is concerned is that honeybees contribute a lot to the pollinator cycle, and we harvest their honey, and there's a whole honey industry, but pollinators in general are very, very important to crops, and we grow a lot of crops in the United States. What a single murder hornet can do, they are large, they are armored, and they will go into a honeybee hive, and they can decapitate like hundreds of honeybees in a few minutes. Like five murder hornets can wipe out an entire honeybee nest of thousands. That's where you get your murder. They can just wipe out a population very quickly. So that has naturally the Department of Agriculture, farmers, apiarists very concerned. So we near the Canadian border in Washington, we've been detecting little buzzes of murder hornets. So we wanted to try, our scientists rather, wanted to try to track them down to see where they're coming from, where they might have their home murder base. So what they did is pretty simple. They'd put something like food. Who doesn't like a good slather of jelly? So they put something like jelly. Bees come, the hornets come, rather. They come down, they start eating it, and while they eat it, with dental floss and some stickiness and some science, the scientists affix a transmitter to the abdomen of the murder hornet. And unbeknownst to the murder hornet, the scientists would then track its location, and hopefully track its location back to the nest. And once the murder hornet was back at the nest, the scientists descended on the site. And it resulted in some absolutely incredible pictures, because the scientists did not they did not take any chances with these things. They suited up. So this looks like an alien extraction, right? I mean, this is what you'd expect from the Men in Black, where they detect some kind of invasive alien or something like that. So they're wearing head to toe big foam protective clothing that is thick so that it can't be pierced by the 6mm long pokey pokes. They're also wearing face shields so these murder hornets can't spit venom in their eyeballs. And they're wrapping up the tree so that no murder hornets can get out. And then you can see on the right there, they have a vacuum, and they're literally vacuuming all of these murder hornets out into this container. And once the container is there, you remove it, and you have all of the murder hornets. You can see, like, wow, it's amazing how, like, you can really protect yourself from an airborne thing that's bad with just, like, protective measures. Crazy, right? They had all these murder hornets sucked out of this tree after attacking it like the Men in Black. And now the scientists will go back and they will take the whole tree down, just in case there's any larvae of these giant hornets. still inside the tree, and they'll remove everything. But I love these images for how seriously they are taking this, because getting stung must hurt a lot if you suit up like that. And I've never seen these beekeeper-style protective suits before. And if you pay attention, you can see all of the openings to the clothing are closed by tape. You can see that on the boots of this science person. You can also see it going down the middle, covering up where ostensibly the zipper is. And that's really, really important. One time, I was riding my bike down a bike trail, and I was wearing a hat backwards because my name is Kyle and I drink Monster Energy drink and I'm awesome. But I was wearing my hat backwards, and I was biking, and I feel on my forehead. I was like, okay, that was something probably pretty big. Oh no. If it's a bee, it is now stuck inside my hat opening. So I'm like, oh God, oh no, oh no, oh no. And then all of a sudden, ah! A bee caught inside my hat stings me right in the dang face, and I have to take my... Anyway, so take hornet and bee sting seriously, obviously. But going forward, scientists in the Department of Agriculture in the United States will be tracking potential nests and murder hornet locations very carefully. There's nothing to quite worry about right now. They're tracking them. Apiaries across the country haven't been wiped out, but this is something that you definitely have to keep your compound eye on. You get it? Let's see what the chat has to say. You know why I like simping for science? Because no matter what you're doing, it's going towards my goal of communicating science in giant locations that cost tens of millions of dollars. I got drones, I got spaceships. Press Bishop Gamer says, this man, I amazing. All right. Dread, the Mad Smith, says, I get scarabs stuck in my hair a lot. What are you, Brendan Fraser in The Mummy? We have Barry from the ASDA who says, hey, Kyle, love the show. Thank you. Congratulations on winning Science Communicator of the Year. I appreciate that. It's a small convention. It was the first year they did it, but this year was a very tumultuous year for me, as it has been for many of you. But going from something that I was working on for my entire professional career to something brand new and having it succeed, it's very nice to be recognized, and thank you all for supporting it, of course. Sarah Rakowski, who's not a pigeon, says, ooh, new location. Now, this is just the hangar. This is where we keep all the spaceships. Nelson says, this is my first office hours, looking forward to many more. I can't stop. Bro, this chat is so chill, and you got 1.7 thousand viewers. How do you do it? I turn on slow mode so that you can't spam me. While I do enjoy spam, the food, I do not enjoy spam, the comment. Daniel, with the 8, says, hey, Kyle, love the show. You're welcome, smiley face. What do you think will be the most influential innovation in the next 10 years? 2 that come to mind right off the top of my dome, my shiny dome, is battery technology. Once battery technology gets good enough to be really, really miniaturized and hold a lot of capacity, or have a lot of capacity, rather, that's going to revolutionize a lot of things, as will fully autonomous cars. I've said this many, many times, but once all cars are fully autonomous, it will reduce the number of deaths on the road each year to almost nothing. It will reduce pollution. It will reduce traffic times. It will be a society-shifting kind of technology. Snipe Our Bunny with the 20, who says, hey, Kyle, love from British Columbia. I was wondering if you had anything to say about the most recent papers on Venus stating light spectroscopy. Do you mean that? Because I've never said that word before. Is a big leap for finding life in space. Maybe there are better methods. Yeah, the phosphine on Venus was detected by looking at what wasn't coming back from the reflected light from Venus. Another Men in Black reference. Look at us go. So spectroscopy, you're looking at what light isn't coming back from reflected light off Venus, and that gives you an indication of what is in the atmosphere of Venus absorbing those wavelengths of light. And they assigned that wavelength that was being absorbed to a compound specifically, which is phosphine. And so this is a cool way to look into the atmosphere of planets and possibly exoplanets to look for signatures of life. I think it's really cool. I don't know if there's a better way because I'm not an astronomer. What do I know? Matt Creel with the 5 says, "Hey Kyle, love the show. I don't know much about these hornets and their natural environment, but is it possible that winter will kill any other nests?" I don't know. I don't know much about their life cycle, but I'm guessing they would go into some a kind of hibernation, stay within the nest, stay warm by wiggling their butts and stuff like that. I don't think a simple season would kill them all off. They're pretty hardy insects. Psycho Gecko had a lot of caffeine. With the 5 says, "Hey Kyle, love the show. If two people wore sci-fi anti-gravity generators and stood on the ceiling, if they grabbed each other, would they float?" If two people wore sci-fi gravity generators and one stood on the ceiling, if they grabbed each other, would they float? Oh, yeah. If you could flip the orientation of gravity for one person above the other person, and it was equal and opposite, then yes, they would be weightless. Actually, that's kind of inside of a sphere, and this is a proven thing mathematically. Inside of a sphere with mass, you are weightless inside of the sphere because you have gravity pulling on you equally and opposite from in all directions. Jack and Coffee with the 10 says, "Could you do an episode about the possibility of full dive VR gaming?" Did you say something like this in my Discord? You may have. If you did, I'm sorry I didn't reply to you. I don't know enough about full dive VR gaming, although I am going to get a VR setup in the facility rather soon. I hope everything's running pretty crispy. I got fiber in the facility just recently, so we're at 1080p. We have a 1 gig up and down. We should be coming in pretty hot. Mitchell Hammond with the 5, and let's pause the super chats for the second so we can get to another topic. But Mitchell with the 5 says, "One small simp for science, one giant vacuum for murder hornets." I couldn't. Quote of the day. Margolin Labs with the 5 says, "Hey Kyle, love the show. I'm currently surrounded by robots staring deep into my soul. They are all headed to schools to help teach. Keep informing." Okay. When they're not looking, activate protocol 7. Good, thanks. Keep teaching. And before we move on, we have Tony Lone Flight with a 20, and that's it. And that's classy. Look. All this simping. Look, I'm going to add a new spaceship pretty soon. Let's go to our next topic. So, this is James Randi. He died last week, and at the ripe old age of 92. And he was a monumental man. Not just in Magic, not the card game, but Magic circles, science circles, skepticism circles. He was a monumental man. He spent his entire life between being a great magician and a great debunker of pseudoscience, like those before him, like Houdini and Carl Sagan. Randy spent his life trying to educate others and trying to save others from having their superstitions or beliefs cashed in upon by those who would want to harm them. So Randy spent his life trying to educate people about, faith healers and so-called mediums and these other, mega church pastors, these people who would prey upon the grief and the lack of information that other people would have. So later in life, he won a Genius Grant, for one. So he was a very, very intelligent man. He did this debunking all the way through, 70s and 80s, all the way up until he passed last week. And what you may not know is that your boy here, my first science communication gig was working for this man. When I was young, my first inroad into science communication was the Skeptic Movement. And the Skeptic Movement is really, it's focused on science communication, but it's more focused on giving educational resources on, the paranormal and, cryptozoology and, faith healers and mediums and all these stuff that we would argue should be debunked because it can be harmful to society sometimes. And so my first gig was actually, I was a research fellow for the James Randi Educational Foundation. And you know, I even went so far, you know, I wrote articles for the website. I helped develop educational modules when I was in college. I put on, well, at some of their conferences, I did workshops. So this is back in 2012 when I was just a boy. That's me. Look at that hair. It's so short. And I'm so skinny. Wow. And so I owe a lot to James Randi and his foundation for giving me a foothold and for giving me a lot of opportunities for a very young kid to kind of flex my communication muscles and get my foot in the door in a lot of these science communication circles. And so I wanted to quickly show you just the start of some footage that I don't think anyone has looked for or seen, but here we go. Welcome to the first official event at TAM. Oh. Look at me. Place Science and Skepticism 101, your introduction to what's all goings on. So, yeah, a really, really young kid, whole science communication career ahead of him, short hair. But I owe a lot to James Randi, so I wanted to just use this segment to kind of pay homage to him and to say and to hope that I can honor his memory and his mission of calling out bad science when bad science is there, advancing critical thinking, skepticism in the face of bad evidence, that kind of thing. And he will be remembered by. He'll be remembered very fondly by many magicians, many scientists, and his adversaries probably not so much, because his last wish in regards to what should be done with his remains is there's a spoon bender named Uri Geller, and he was always, you know, on these talk shows trying to convince people he had magical powers, and he always feuded with him, and he said, what you should do with my remains, cremate me and then throw my ashes in the eyes of Uri Geller. Which should give you a little bit of an insight into the kind of guy that he was. Feisty, fiery, incredibly intelligent and witty. I met him a few times. Just all around fascinating, incredible man. And so this is for Randi. Donald Gedank says, you were never not sexy. Hey. Stop it. I know, I'm like the evolved version of that Kyle now. I could go back to that Kyle. I'd just have to cut my hair, lose about 50 pounds, and, you know, be a lot less confident. I look like the evolved version of that Kyle that you might press B on, but you might not. See, that was like the Growlithe, and I'm the Arcanine. I'm definitely the Arcanine to that Growlithe. Press Bishop says, yo, what's up? You wasted that comment, buddy. Matt Creel says, pour one out for Randy. Indeed. I don't know if he drank, actually. Melanie M with the 10 says, the alien ship at Independence Day 2 had its own gravity and destroyed London by lifting everything up towards itself. Wouldn't Earth's gravity counteract the gravity of an alien ship? Depends on the magnitude. This is too simplistic, but if a ship was generating its own gravitational pull, which of course it does, but if it was artificially making it much, much larger, then you just have two component forces there. Two forces in opposite directions, rather. So you have pulling in all directions towards the ship and pulling all directions down towards the center of Earth's gravity, the center of mass. Whichever one is bigger will have that effect. So if it's artificially generated, like the Superman thing, Gravity Pounder, or whatever it was, I don't know, then maybe. Trevor Jerome with the 20 says, hey Kyle, lots of love from the Johnson Space Center. I always learn something new watching your videos, so thank you for that. Do you have any thoughts on the upcoming Artemis and Gateway programs from NASA? I'm not up to date on Artemis and Gateway, but what I am up to date on is the Johnson Space Center. Thank you so much for working there and being there and making it such an interesting place. I have been. It is amazing and awe-inspiring. I love it there. I love all the little interactables, the stuff outside and inside. Thank you for doing your own part in science and science communication. It's important. As a kid, I was very fortunate to have some fantastic museums near me that my parents and my mom would always take me towards, and I was always wanting to go to those museums. So you museum and science center workers and volunteers, you are great unsung heroes of science communication. You do a lot of work for not a lot for kids at a very important time. So thank you, Trevor. Next time I come to the Space Center, I'll get you a coffee. Valoo South with the 5 says, been a big fan of Randy for over half my life. Thanks for giving him stream time. 2020, man. Yeah, but at least Randy lived a very long and fulfilled life at 92. He's done a lot, responsible for a lot. What else could you ask for, really? Deadly Beautiful with the 5 says, please go back to that sexy pompadour. That hairstyle suits you. By the way, keep on simping. No. You go back to it. Let's pause the super chats for a second so we can get on to our next topic. But see, the problem is, you go back to that pompadour that you're objectifying me with, and then how many people on the internet look like me? I'm just another skinny white guy with short hair talking about science. How many of those are there? 5 right off the top of my head. What's distinguishing about your boy here and the facility and the professors here is that this isn't just a lecture. This isn't just science communication. This isn't just, having some B-roll of the universe and talking when you're framed too low. I'm talking about someone very specifically. We're doing something different here, and so am I. Trone158 the 5 says, hey Kyle, longtime fan, kind of off topic. Do you think we'll see you on game nights anytime soon? Yeah, I love playing with the Command Zone crew, Jimmy and Josh. It's just a COVID situation. Even though we run in similar circles, I would never want to put them or their production at risk. So once there is less COVID risk, I would love to go back and play with them. Although I might have some interesting things coming down the line with Ultra Pro. So we'll see. Maybe. Tweet at him. Mike Wagner with the 50 says, love the show, Kyle. I'm a virologist from Baltimore, and I'm grateful for all that you do, particularly your COVID PSAs. I always look forward to watching. Mike, thank you so much for what you do and for your education and for, I don't know exactly what you're working on, but I'm sure it's fascinating and important. We need people like you. See, I'm second, I stand on your very broad and intelligent shoulders. Right? Without you and your fellow scientists and your colleagues doing the work and advancing science and discovering new things, what would I be talking about? Then I'd just be talking about how people want me to change hairstyles. And no one wants to listen to that for an hour. We're a bug-heavy episode today. Because I saw this and I could not talk about it. This may be the coolest name of any insect. This is the Diabolical Ironclad Beetle. It's diabolical because it's so strong. Why? We'll get to that. So this is the Ironclad Beetle. As you can see, it looks like a strong boy. And in fact, it is very strong. When scientists started looking, or entomologists rather, started looking into the biomechanics of the Diabolical Ironclad Beetle, they found something interesting. Now, I don't know if this next test they did it right away, but eventually, some grad students settled on doing something like this. This beetle is so tough, it can survive getting run over by a car. So 100 newtons is nothing to shake a cane with a skull on it at. Relatively speaking to the beetle, 100 newtons of force on the beetle is applying 39,000 times the beetle's body weight to it and having it and having its exoskeleton not fail. Now, if you watched my Goku episode, I was under the force of 1.5 times my body weight. This is 39,000 G. So this bug could definitely put on Goku's weighted clothing and out-train him in the gravity room. So this beetle is so incredibly strong that it's diabolical. But why? Well, we look closelier, much more closelier, at the exoskeleton of the beetle. What you're looking at is basically its back. So this is right about here on its back, cross-section. Now, many beetles with that look like this, that function like this, they have a morphology that's similar to this. On their backs, they would have a shell covering wings. And these wings require their own muscles, their own machinery, their own space in the exoskeleton of the insect. However, in this beetle, you can see these are hollow. There's no wings there. And on the outside of the exoskeleton, you can see just how much thicker it is than a thin wing covering that you might see on something like a ladybug or a ladybird if you're from the United Kingdom. So what evolution has done here is taken the area and the infrastructure that would go into wings and shifted it towards having a really thick exoskeleton. And what's important about this exoskeleton is not just that it's thick. Something that is thick can still be broken and crushed. It could be brittle, what have you. What's really important is the actual structure. So if you look in the middle of this here, you have these interlocking segments. You can see a segment interlocking with the other. You actually have a bulbous area that's interlocked with more part of the exoskeleton like this. So when you have that, of course, if this was just parallel, this is easy to delaminate, as an engineer would say, to fail and move past each other. But when it's a bulb and other protein around that bulb, that's going to make it, that's like trying to put your hand in a raccoon trap and closing your hand and trying to remove it. It's not going to work. So you have a very robust connection here. So that's half of it, having a very robust connection inside of the skeleton. And because it's connected in this way, it allows the exoskeleton to flex under load. That's the second part of it. Very thick exoskeleton that can flex under load, can deform and take some of that force. The third part is that when the scientists at Purdue started modeling how this structure would delaminate or come apart again, what they found was this, is that when you applied enough force to take it apart, it doesn't just snap or fail. Rather, the elements that you were seeing, those layers of the exoskeleton, they will come apart and they will also delaminate along the line of action here. And so what that does, it allows for even more stretching, even more flexation, which allows for even more force. So going forward, the scientists will take a look at shapes like this, at this insect, to see how these, again, totally blind, evolutionarily driven designs came to be, and how we could take those designs to mess around with, metamaterials, composite materials, that kind of thing, to make really, really strong structures, connections, that sort of thing. And we can get all of that from a beetle. Love it. I want to look at my spaceships again. Oh, that... See, the perspective-wise, that monitor's right in your face. I'm very far away. PC says, how strong is One Punch Man? Very. I wonder what caused it to need such strength, King of Depravity says. Well, it's not necessarily a need thing. Evolution doesn't work with what something needs. Rather, evolution... a random mutation will cause a slight change in, say, how the carapace grows, and it will be a slight increase in strength of it. And if that just so happens to allow the insect to pass on its genes more successfully than someone who doesn't have that mutation, then it is, quote-unquote, selected for, and that gene goes on in the population, and this gene could be refined and refined and refined in a similar way. If there's another mutation that makes it even stronger and it's even more selected, then it tends towards that area. So that adaptation. So as Mitch also says, what's the evolutionary advantage? Well, if think of a predator that didn't have the force to bite all the way through the exoskeleton, for example. A population of predators could learn, like, stop eating this bug because you can't get through it. It will just spit it out. In the same way that, like, a population can learn, don't eat monarch butterflies because you get sick or you die. So it's not always, evolution is not what about an organism needs. It's just what happens to work. So this organism happened to get a very strong exoskeleton, and it happened to work. This is a common sticking point for a lot of people in understanding evolution, because you say, like, the common creationist argument is, well, what use is half a wing? What if an animal just gets a mutation and starts getting, like, a little bit of a wing? Well, you're not thinking like evolution would be, quote unquote, thinking or operating, right? Half a wing, you could start gliding. It could help, the feathers could help with heat retention, or they could be used as a signaling device in reproduction, or those kind of things. So nature's crafty. It's like, I guess what I'm getting at. We have SC T-Bone with the 20, who says, so excited to catch the show live. Thank you for doing this. Always informative. Hey, as Randy said, what did Randy say? He had a great quote that I'm going to start saying. He said, in regards to me doing this stream and stuff, quote, I suffer from this obsession that I have something important to do. I love that. I feel the same way. I feel like I can't not do this kind of thing, so thank you. I'd be doing it even if you weren't watching. That's not true. Shroombeard with the 5 says, that beetle would be a fierce adversary in a shower fight. I don't really know what you mean there. But, Mohammed, shout out from the UK. Hey! Shout out, man. Nope, that's Australian. Aye, shit, no. Can't do it. Oh, can I do it? Nope, that's... Ascalon says, if angels have 6 limbs, counting the wings, are they insects? No. The number of limbs isn't the only defining quality of what an insect is, right? It'd still be probably some species of human. But how many can fit on the tip of a pin? The caller filled says, I'm currently in VR eating this. I hope you meant watching. Also, watch out. Let's, why don't we move on to our second to last topic. What is it? Peer review, baby. Peer review. So, as I am wont to do, every week, we look at the previous episode of the facility and we see if there's any comments, questions, corrections, something interesting that people put in there that I wanted to highlight. And once you become highlighted, you become an honorary member of the facility. In fact, someone in my Discord, patreon.com/KyleHill, mentioned to me, and I think I'm going to make this a thing because I think it's a great idea. If you go and comment on the YouTube videos, on the YouTube channel, and it's super nerdy and sciencey and great, gets a lot of traction, if you're highlighted here in peer review, not only will you get a plaque, but you can also DM me, and I will give you a month pass to the facility Discord, in which you can come sample all of the things that we got on offer from you, from talking to me every day, behind the scenes stuff. You can get in for a month, but that's only if you get in nerdy on the YouTube. So, and you also got to watch these shows, so I don't know if Ray's ever going to hear me, but she's going to get something. So Ray, commenting on the last episode of the facility, where I was talking about game theory and Nash equilibria in regards to traffic and evolution and electrical systems, she, like many others of you, said, keep your eyes on the road. You're driving like, you can't talk to us and turn around and drive and take your eyes off the road and your hands off the road at the same time and driving. This isn't really I don't really have a whole lot for this. All I have to say is I was driving on closed courses. Not perfectly closed courses like I put cones and I had police and stuff like that. but I was driving in that episode down alleyways, down streets with nobody on them. I had people standing at the end of the street, go, don't go. And I was going like 5 miles an hour. I know you could still get pretty messed up at 5 miles an hour, but don't worry. I'm always being safe, mostly. That's going to be important coming up when we start messing with superconductors and stuff, but safety first. And I would never show you something that I think is intentional, or I would never show you something that I think is straight up dangerous without telling you what I'm doing. Who am I? The backyard scientist? Come on. So for pointing that out, for keeping me safe and honest, Ray, you are now an honorary member of the facility. Fantastic, fantastic. Now, if we just, Kevin over here will just get your plaque and, what? Wait. Okay, Ray, so here's the thing. I don't have a plaque, but if you want to become a member of the facility, you can DM me, and I'll give you a month pass. Okay? I'm a very safe driver. I have a safe driver discount. Don't worry about me. Also, if you want me to start an ASMR channel, you can DM me about that too. Okay? All right. It's almost like I make that up off the top of my head. Keith Cessna with the 5 says, will you do a video on how hot the Blades of Chaos Kratos uses in God of War 4 are for your Because Science channel? No. I do not. I no longer have any affiliation with Because Science. I don't, there will be no videos. There'll be no new videos with me in them on that channel. But there might be some videos on this channel. In fact, I guarantee it. We might be doing something pretty big. I am doing something pretty big, rather, for Cyberpunk. Even though that just got pushed 3 weeks, don't worry. Don't give them flack for it. It's going to be 3 weeks better of a game. So just let them do it. But we will be doing, Thea and I will be doing something really cool for Cyberpunk. So stay tuned for that. Idiom Immortal with the 5 says, if you formed a shell of photons and neutrons around a positron and forced it to close in on the positron, could you force it to explode, implode? I have no idea. I don't even know if you could do that. Eric Lacey with the 20 says, Kyle, I dropped aerospace engineering after getting a fever of 104 degrees for 18 hours and losing my memory. Thanks to content like yours, I stay involved in science during recovery and is soon to start a Master's of Science in HCI doing VR research. I don't know what HCI is or HCl. I don't think it's hydrochloric acid, but it says, thank you. Eric, wow. Thank you. First of all, thank you for sharing a personal story with us. It's not easy to just do that. So you had a fever so bad you lost your memory and you had to drop your aerospace engineering path. That's crazy. All I can say is I wish you the absolute best during recovery. If I can be of any help, entertaining and interesting during that recovery, then that's all I can hope for. So I wish you a speedy recovery. I don't know how the memory thing works. Hopefully you get it back. But I acknowledge your suffering and I appreciate your simping. Deadly Beautiful says, you're right. You're the only sexy guy with long, beautiful hair. I'll keep Cut it out. Not the hair. Just don't continuously objectify me. Please. Thanks. Just because I'm a guy, it doesn't mean it's cool. Thank you. But thanks for the 5. I'll use it for argan oil. Selbach with the 5. Selbach, longtime facility member. Is the Nash equilibrium likely being caused by people to help track and predict... likely being used by people to help track and predict COVID? Nash equilibria in terms of COVID would be assuming that everyone is acting rationally and coming to a pattern of play, quote unquote, that would be optimal for them, and I don't think that's the case with COVID. People are not acting rationally, and they are not acting in their own best interest that aligns with public health interests. So I don't think there would be an equilibrium in that way there. And in fact, you just see continuing spikes. And that's bad. The clap with 15. I hope it's not that clap. I finally caught you live. Me love you long time. Stop it. Wisconsin misses you. Well, I miss Wisconsin, I'll tell you that. I was back recently in July, and whew. Every day I wake up and just think, what if I just walked into the woods? Steel Gorilla with the 10 says, by chance, do you know why it feels warmer right after the sun rises before it begins to feep warmer? Do you know why it feels warmer right after the sun rises before it begins to feel warmer? Oh, it's an optical illusion that the sun is behind the horizon or below the horizon before it actually is. So because of the way light gets bent around and through our atmosphere, during a sunset, the sun is physically below the horizon, but you still see the sun because light is being bent towards your eye. So I'm guessing what you're describing here is a similar, and I've never thought about this is actually kind of cool. Why does it get warmer before you can even feel the sun, even see the sun? Because, similarly, the sun's light will start reaching you because of the bending effect before you can actually see the sun. Cool. You made me learn something. Do you know what else we can learn about? Whatever this 5th topic is. Water on the moon. So this is a short one, and then we'll get back to your comments, but recently NASA said they had found water in the sunny spots of the moon. Why is this important? Why is it interesting? Well, first, they took a frickin' Boeing 747, put a telescope in it. That's cool. And they pointed it at the moon, and they were trying to resolve images of the moon. They didn't know if they'd be able to do that. But obviously they were. Why you need to do that is if you're looking for signatures of water, say, again, a spectroscopy kind of thing, if you're looking for light signatures of water or molecules that could have water in them, you wouldn't want a lot of interference that would, a lot of noise in your data. So if you're looking straight through the Earth's atmosphere as if you were on, the surface of Earth looking at the moon, you're looking through 100 kilometers of water vapor. So that would put a lot of noise in your signal. So what they did is they flew very high altitude 747 with a telescope in the back, and they got above, 99% of that water vapor, so that if they were seeing any water signatures on the moon, they could be much, much more confident that it was coming from the moon rather than the Earth's atmosphere. So they looked at sunny spots of the moon, and they looked for these signatures. They found signatures of H2O in these sunny spots right here. Actually, you can see it in the night sky. This is where they found it, in these craters here. So if you look up, you can say, hey, mommy, there's water there. She'd be like, go to bed. So there's water there, which is interesting in and of itself, because without an atmosphere to help curtail solar radiation, well, no, these are two different things. So the temperature in sunlight on the moon is hundreds of degrees. So you'd think any water would immediately boil away. But more importantly, because the moon basically doesn't have an atmosphere, there's no pressure. And without any pressure, any liquid water on the moon's surface would instantly evaporate. Same thing happens if you were to be spaced out of an airlock. All of the water would immediately evaporate off of your eyes and off of your tongue. I hear it feels like boiling. And yet, the scientists still observe these water signatures. So how could water be in the sunlit surfaces of the moon? Well, the scientists think, and I'm reading from press releases now, they think there could be two things at work. There could be micrometeorites or meteorites that have water in them, or water ice, and they pelt the moon. And once they pelt the moon, the high energy impact could form, little bubbles of regolith that could, kind of like a geode, contain water in them. Or there could be a more chemical process at work where solar wind delivers hydrogen, just elemental hydrogen, to the lunar surface, then causes a chemical reaction with oxygen-bearing minerals. Then radiation from the sun and also micrometeorites could
transform this chemical hydroxyl into water. So there's a couple different ways that water could get on the moon. What I would like to say, though, is that, we're talking about very, very, very small amounts of water. This wouldn't be something like you could go to the moon and, take off your moon boots and dip your little pizzas in them. This is not the case. But why this discovery is important is that we're finding things on the moon and other celestial bodies in places that we didn't expect to find them. That's important, especially if we want to, one day establish a moon colony, what have you. It's good to know that there's possible water in places that you want to be, places where you want to explore. And it was a challenge just seeing if they could actually use this technique with the Boeing 747 to do this. So that is more or less the overall impact of finding water on the moon. It's not just micrometeorites. And see that? I control everything here. It's my world. Just a couple more of your comments and questions before we end this episode, because I'm feeling a little delirious. I haven't eaten anything today. Should probably eat. Tiger Melts with the 5 says, Kyle, as someone from Philadelphia, water ice is actually pronounced water ice and is delicious. K thanks him for science. I disagree. It's pronounced, it's soda pop. It's pop, it's not soda. King of Depravity says, the first step. Aye. Brandon Gordon says, live, yes, just really wanted to say hello there to Master Hill. Woot. Hello there. A Sith Lord. Stefan Barua says, NASA must have tons of Boeings. I don't think so. Jennifer Oliver, frequent commenter, is everything in the universe round? If so, why not? If not, why not? No, not everything in the universe is round. I will prove that to you with a very complicated experiment. Here we go. That was not round. I am not round. I'm getting rounder during lockdown, but I'm not round. No, I know the spirit of your question. I'm not trying to make you sound dumb or anything. But anything above a certain mass will act to round itself out because of gravity, because gravity acts omnidirectionally. When you have enough mass, there's going to be enough gravitational force to pull it down to a mathematical center of gravity, and that will act to spherify it, because the force of gravity, when you have enough mass, is stronger than internal forces of a material. So even a solid could act like a liquid, and something like a planet will spherify itself. Every star in the universe is literally almost perfectly spherical, because the force of gravity on it is so strong. So it's a star is much more spherical than the Earth, and is much more perfect than something like a bowling ball even. So most big things in the universe are round. But anything that's so small that material strength is stronger than gravitational pulling, those things don't have to be round. So you could have something like a Borg cube or a pyramid out in space, and it wouldn't roundify itself. Technical term. Farron Fox with the 10 says, hey, Kyle, love the main. Oh. Did you see the first real proto-saber the guys at Hacksmith made? Yes. James actually sent it to me before he published the video, and he said, check this out. And it's awesome. However, and he knew this. He's like, I know you're going to have some problems with it. And I do. What's undeniable is that it cuts through a lot of stuff, check, and it looks amazing, check. I mean, it does kind of look like a blade. It's glowing. It looks almost solid. It looks like a lightsaber. What I would say to James, though, is that you basically just put a plasma torch on a handle. I mean, it's a really cool plasma torch. It's a very large flame, laminar flow, interesting nozzle, but that's all it is. You didn't make a lightsaber. You just had a big plasma cutter, a plasma torch. Is that a true lightsaber? I think it's probably as close as you're going to get, but in terms of like how you made it, it is cool. It's just not. It's not like, wow, how did you do that? It's more like, oh, I could buy that. Still cool. I got like 20 million views, so yeah, good for him. Marcus Aquarius with the 5 says, is it possible to create perpetual motion using magnetized spheres trapped inside large copper ball? Would the spheres constantly repel each other? No, it's not possible to create perpetual motion, period, because that would violate the laws of thermodynamics. But it would be very, very efficient, and you're actually going to see this in an upcoming episode where I basically make a perpetual motion machine. But it can never be perpetual motion because there will always be losses. So for something like a magnet spinning around or inside or above a copper tube, that spinning will act to create, we'll get into this in an upcoming episode, but it will induce an electric current in that copper, which will create its own reverse magnetic field, which will act to slow down and stop the motion of the magnet. And so that will eventually slow it down, and there's electrical resistance in the copper, which has some resistance, which will eventually lose energy through that electrical current as heat. So even if you have a lot of things very perfect, there's still inefficiencies. You can't have 100% efficiency, just the law of the land. So you'll always lose something to heat or friction or light or sound or something like that, which will, never allow you to have perpetual motion. You can have something that is incredibly efficient. Even something like the ball bearings in a fidget spinner. The fidget spinner can spin for like 2 minutes because it's very, very low friction. It's very efficient, but it can never spin forever because it's always losing some amount of energy. And over time, it will act to stop the machine. A lot of people think they can make it. They can make a perpetual motion machine. And if you do, you will have rewritten the laws of physics. A task so monumental, you can bet that's probably not going to happen. Luis Valenzuela says, can you use laser-induced plasma to create a more accurate lightsaber? I've always said that, lightsabers are probably plasma-based. So, yes, but what Hacksmith did, which is cool, is that he produced something that looks right and operates kind of right. We are nowhere near being able to contain plasma like a lightsaber does. So he took the other way around it, and I like it. It's already rendered with the 20. It says, hey, Kyle, love the show. Are you going to make a video with Dr. Moo soon? Or is she still being busy and awesome sending rovers to Mars? Well, Dr. Moo is both busy and awesome, that's for sure. But I don't know. Again, I don't want to interact with any more people than I have to during the pandemic and stuff, but we don't have any plans to make any videos at the moment. I don't know what her current situation is. I'm sure she's still being awesome on Mars. She's not on Mars, but part of her is on Mars, if you want to think of it that way. Whoa! Music Central Piano always coming in hot at the late part of the stream. The $101 donation and 1 cent. Keep up the great work, Kyle. Congrats on your award. Well deserved. Keep inspiring and encouraging scientific thought. Randy would definitely be proud. Oh, thank you. Also, Kevin needs a few plaque acquisition courses. Maybe something on Skillshare. Yeah, there's got to be. So, I'm trying to make it easier that if you get an honorary membership, you can come, into the facility for a month, check it out, see if you like it. But maybe we'll have a plaque. Maybe I should have a plaque room with all the... That'd be a great idea. The Stick. Oh, hey, fancy that. First time catching a live stream. Shame I can't afford to sim for science. Love the show, and congrats on the award. It's all right. Don't need to do anything. Even just watching the stream is great. Speaking of which, we have run out of time for this episode of Office Hours. I hope you've enjoyed your time here. I hope you've enjoyed the stream. Looks pretty crispy and smooth to me, now having fiber. What did we go through? We talked about murder hornets. We found the first nest. Hopefully there's not many more, because they will decapitate all of our honeybees. We also talked about James Randi, a monumental man who recently passed, and we honored him a little bit previously, and the Ironclad Beetle. Why is it so strong? Well, it's evolution, my dear Watson. We also took one of your comments from the previous episode of the facility about me not driving carefully, though I do. I have a safe driver discount. That's true. We also talked about the importance and significance of finding water on the moon. Thank you, everyone who has simped for science this week and for all the weeks previous. In December, I will be announcing a way for you to simp for charity science as well. We'll be doing charity streams in December at the facility and also outside of the facility that will be, well, I'll be doing one charity stream. It's not mine, but I'll be a part of one charity stream that will be so big, it will be the #1 trending video on YouTube. That's guaranteed. But thank you for simping and for allowing us to get through all of this trouble. So, you know, if America doesn't implode next week, you can catch me back at the facility. If you want to join, you can go to patreon.com/Kyle Hill, as my security team is putting in the chat right now. Big thanks to the security team this week. Jay the Giant has been doing a fantastic job today, engaging with you all, making sure you all don't get too rowdy. If you want to join, if you want to talk with me, if you want to continue this conversation, you know where to go. Have a wonderful rest of your week. This week's episode is another meme episode, but hopefully it's a little bit more recent, and it will do a little bit better than the last meme episode. So until I see you next week. Oh, wow. Wait, what is next week? When will I be streaming next week? Don't worry about this. Okay, so next Tuesday is November the 3rd. So it might be, you know, might have a lot on your mind during the stream, but hopefully I can take your mind off of things for a little while we learn and, you know, drink our tea and hope that, you know, all of democracy doesn't die. But until then, please be nice to each other. Remember, it's not magic. It's always science, as I think Randy would say, and Bill Nye would say. Be nice to each other, because this is all we got.